This next question usually stirs up a little bit of controversy. I was at a test and tune very recently at Flying H Motorsports Park, and I got asked a lot of questions about my El Camino. Let's answer those questions right here, right now. The first question I've been asked a lot is, did you build a G-Body El Camino because you like Mullet on Cletus's channel? The answer is, I've been working on this car since 2004-3. I've been working on this car for an extremely long time, and this is the first car I ever bought. I drove this car to high school, so technically, Cletus is imitating my El Camino. The next most common question I get asked is, it's an El Camino with that bed, isn't it horrible for weight bias? The answer is no, it's actually pretty good, and it's somewhere in the 55% on the nose, 45% on the rear kind of bias. The beds on these things are actually really quite thick, and it actually makes for a pretty good weight bias. This next question usually stirs up a little bit of controversy. I race this thing with the tailgate down, and I get asked, shouldn't you put your tailgate up? Wouldn't it be faster? Mythbusters did that and proved that the tailgate up was better. The answer is Mythbusters used a full-size Dodge truck. Last I checked, this isn't a full-size Dodge truck. I've got time slips that prove that depending on the day and the tailwind, it's worth 0.3 to 0.5 of a second with the tailgate down. Plus, any weight behind the rear axle is good weight, and any weight that I can move further back helps plant the tire on launch. Running this car with the tailgate down has proven to be more consistent and quicker than with the tailgate up. The next question I usually get is under hood. Now, I'm pretty willing to talk about the engine combination in this car and point out this is the first engine I ever built. This short block on this car has been together for more than 20 years. It's a pump gas friendly 9.8-to-1 383 with AFR heads, an AFR single plane intake manifold, a Lunati Voodoo cam that could be about 3 sizes bigger than it is, and people are surprised when they see that this car runs mid-12s. There's two sides that this goes. It only runs mid-12s, it should be faster. Yes, if it had more compression, it would be a lot quicker. But for how quick it is running, this car gets it done on the bottom. I built this engine for good streetable torque, and it delivers it like crazy. This thing has been as fast as a 155 60-footer on a really good track, and it's also got pictures of the wheels in the air. Usually when the hood's up, I get asked, what's with that Cowl induction setup? You've got a stock hood, how does that even work? Well, the answer is I actually built this air pan to seal to the hood, and with the HVAC removed, I built a panel there and trimmed up along the back. The reason I did that is because cool air at the base of the hood is allowed to get the carburetor, and that makes the car far more consistent. It really wasn't worth anything power-wise when I did this, but that air pan has been worth a lot in consistency. Usually the next question is, how did I make it? Well, the answer is I actually built a sheet metal brake out of 3 or 4 inch angle. It had some stuff laying around. I built the sheet metal brake to bend up that air pan. People next notice two things at once. Usually it's the air conditioning bracket that doesn't have an air conditioner. Used to be an AC car, I took it off. I haven't built a new bracket or swapped over to manual power steering. The next thing that people notice is the valve covers. They ask me, where the heck did you get those? The answer is I made them. They are a Billet Specialties cast aluminum valve cover that I had powder coated a high temperature black, and then I took them to a local engraver and had them engrave that El Camino logo, which is actually kind of a variant of the blocky El Camino logo, the 1965 El Camino logo, and just put the blue bow tie in the middle of it because it just looks good. I built those valve covers purely because I wanted to. They cost a lot more than they probably should have, but you know something? I have the only valve covers like them. Now, if someone's paying attention, they notice the header bolts. I was asked, what the heck is with that springy thingy there? Basically, that's a safety wire for the header bolts. All it is basically an old Spectre kit that you can't get anymore. Yep, I got it from Checker back in the day. The header bolts have holes through them, and it basically just safety wires everything together. So you tighten down the header bolt, tighten down the other one, put the pieces through it. It's basically as big around as baling wire, but it's stainless and has this nice springy over covering to it that makes it look nicer. This has prevented header bolts from getting loose and falling out, and I've even got a dead soft aluminum gasket in there between the header flange and the head. So that safety wire has prevented me from having to constantly tighten up my headers. Usually, there's one guy that's looking at the carburetor. What is it? And there's usually something interesting peeking out under there. When someone asks, I'll take the air pan off and show them what hides underneath. Now, I'm using a Velocity Racing Carbs carburetor. They're one of my main sponsors. These guys build wicked carburetors. That's a 750 CFM Holley. Basically, it's a Proform main body, billet metering blocks, billet boosters, and a whole pile of amazing goodies that make this car actually work. Then I get asked, why are you using annular boosters? The answer is because it helps atomize the fuel so nicely. With 24 holes around that booster, as air flows through the booster, it atomizes so beautifully. And usually a lot of racers put their MSD box or ignition box on the fender well, on the firewall. Someone was noticing, hey, where's your box? The answer is, it's nowhere under hood. Ignore the HVAC stuff. The dashboard's got to come out to get that out. But where I hide the MSD box is actually where the factory computer used to be. Being 1982, this used to have a computer and the computer-controlled QJet and distributor that went with it. So I got smart and hid my MSD box and all of the ancillary components behind that panel. And from the driver's seat, if someone's looking across, you never even notice. You really pretty much have to be looking at it with the door open to be able to see the MSD box sticking out there. So those are some of the most commonly asked questions that I get about my El Camino. What questions do you have? Is there anything you want to know about this car? You want to know more about what makes this thing actually work? And it could also be perfectly streetable. So if you enjoyed this, check out this video over here where you can see the El Camino in action.